It would be almost 10 years before anyone learned for sure the babies had been switched.
In 1978, Regina Twigg gave birth to a perfectly healthy baby named Arlena. 3 days later, the baby suddenly didn't want to nurse. She told the nurse that this isn't her baby. The nurse showed Regina the wrist and ankle bracelet that said Twigg.
I never dreamed, not for a second on this earth, that they had given me somebody else's baby.
Whether purposely or accidentally, the world would only come to discover this in more recent years. The Twiggs had to monitor Arlena's heart constantly.
She was very fragile.
Arlena was going downhill, so they decided to do surgery on her heart. Preparing for the surgery, they took blood from Arlena and saw that she has a different blood type than her parents.
It is impossible for O-type parents to have a natural B-type child.
This ultimately had them take a genetics test at Johns Hopkins, and to no surprise, their DNA did not match.
She said, Mr. and Mrs. Twigg, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but the test results have proven that Arlena is not linked genetically to either one of you.
Regina just couldn't understand how this had happened and wanted to know where her real baby was. However, she knew at that moment she had to be strong for Arlena and guide her through this surgery.
Arlena was very afraid of the surgery. She told me that she was afraid to die.
Regretfully, Arlena died due to kidney failure after this surgery. This shattered Regina. The grief soon turned to anger and determination to find her long-lost child.
I thought, where is baby Twigg? What happened to her? Where she was she happy? We had to find the baby.
What we want most to happen right now is to find our biological daughter.
The Twiggs hired a private investigator who found that in all of Wauchula, there was only one other Anglo baby born that day. The next day, the investigator shows up at Bob Mays' house, claiming that the Twiggs know that Kimberly, his daughter, is their missing child, and they want him to do a DNA test. Bob immediately laughed and refused. The investigator discovered that the Mays family and the Twigg family had their baby on the same day at the hospital. When Barbara Mays went into labor, her baby's heart rate went into fetal distress. The baby just barely survived. They named her Kimberly.
The baby had a very severe heart condition, and they didn't expect the baby to live over a week.
As she grew older, Kimberly mysteriously showed no signs of a heart disease. From Kimberly's point of view, she grew up in a loving environment and was now being told that another family wants to take her.
If you could be granted one wish that would make you happy, what would that wish be?
Terminating their parental rights and getting my life back.
The Twiggs threatened to take Bob to court for custody of Kimberly Mays. Bob didn't care who the biological parents were.
I'm her father, I always have been, and I always will be.
I don't know if this is some kind of a prank. He could not imagine that Kimberly Mays was not actually his daughter.
So the question became, why wouldn't Bob Mays agree to taking a DNA test?
Why? Why should I?
He was able to present himself as a sympathetic figure because he would just say, oh, I love Kimberly. This is the only family she's ever had.
His attorney understood that if he takes the test, it would be the starting point to a long journey of courtrooms, and Bob did not want that for himself nor for Kimberly.
Only priority here is Kimberly.
This portrayed the Twiggs in the public eye as the villain in the story, but to them it was as if they were losing a third daughter.
Irregardless of the fact that she was raised with someone else, she still has roots with us.
Regina wasn't going to be stopped. Bob Mays wasn't going to be stopped either. So now what?
This legal battle carried on for 5 years. Kimberly eventually won the rights to stay with Bob Mays.